UFC Fight Night, Islam Makhachev taking on Bobby Green. Welcome to our prelim card prediction video by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by Zan, I go by Harris as usual, giving you those fight-by-fight breakdowns and analysis from that betting perspective specifically, letting you know which fights are worth the value, which fights to avoid, which underdog has the best shot at winning, and some parlay action towards the end of the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video. And most importantly, we want to hear from you in the comments. Let us know how you feel about our picks coming up. We have 12 fights on this UFC Fight Night, aka UFC Vegas 49 card. Of course, we know Bobby Green stepped in for an injured Beneil Dariush. And for these 12 fights, the first 7 of them are on the prelim card. So with this being our prelim card prediction video, we're going to start with the first fight of the prelims. And we're looking at Victor Altamirano taking on Carlos Hernandez. 2 newcomers to the UFC. For Victor Altamirano, he had a split decision win on Dana White Contender Series back in August. For Carlos Hernandez, he had a split decision win on the Dana White Contender Series back in October. Back to Altamirano, he's a southpaw, Taekwondo style on the feet. Gonna see a lot of kicks from him, a lot of combinations from him as well. Takedown defense didn't really impress me going back to his last fight. Striking defense didn't really impress me either. He keeps his hands low. He relies on head movement, almost Dusko Todorovic style. And I don't think that works in the UFC, as we've seen from Dusko Todorovic himself. For Carlos Hernandez, he fights from the outside, decent footwork. Combinations are okay. No real intention behind his punches, though. You look at his professional record there, 7 wins, 1 loss. None of those wins are via KO, TKO. So I don't really expect punching power to be a factor here in terms of Carlos Hernandez. Don't really like either of their styles, to be honest. This looks like it's going to be a fight that's back and forth. Neither fighter is going to particularly run away with it from what I'm seeing. For Carlos Hernandez, I think he technically has a ground advantage. But just with the style that he presents, I don't really anticipate him having the ability to bring the fight to the ground. And on the feet, especially as I don't really anticipate an issue with Victor Altamirano being able to handle Hernandez's power, I think that's going to lead to Altamirano having the advantage on the feet. I think he's going to have cleaner combinations. I think he's going to be a little bit more intentional with his striking. And I think he's going to land the better strikes, the cleaner strikes, the ones that are more eye-catching in the eyes of the judges. I see he's the underdog here. It's a very close fight. I wouldn't even bet on this because there's a lot of question marks, debuts for both of them. Coming from Dana White Contender Series, you don't quite know what level they're at. And the respective opponent doesn't really have experience, of course, fighting each other. So in a lot of ways, it's a coin flip. My coin is landing on Victor Altamirano.
Yeah, this is a tough one. 2 Contender Series guys. Victor in his fight on the Contender Series, I didn't even think he won that fight. I thought he lost that fight clearly, the first 2 rounds clearly, and then I believe he won the 3rd round. When I look at Hernandez on his fight on the Contender Series, it was a close fight. He got the decision. I could see it being a close decision that could have gone either way. But I believe Carlos had done enough here in that fight to get the decision. So I believe that decision was fair. Tapologies on Altamirano. I think his stand-up sloppy, but he is effective. He's going to be the more dynamic striker, the more tools in his toolbox with the striking. Hernandez is going to have that more conventional approach. He's going to look to box in this match. I actually like Carlos Hernandez because I think the stand-up isn't. I don't think Victor is that much better in the stand-up, but I think when it comes to the grappling and the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling, I think Carlos is much better, and I think he's gonna be able to get some ride time on the ground. I think at some point he's gonna be able to get him on the ground. If he gets his back, he's able to get his locks in, control the back, ride some time there, even look for a finish. But I like Carlos. I think his submission here is his ground game is gonna make a difference here. So I'm gonna go Carlos here to get this one done.
Fight number 2, Ramiz Brahimaj taking on Michael Gillmore. Ramiz Brahimaj, he had that unanimous decision loss to Court McGee. That was just a month ago, so he's looking to get back in there right away. Decent striker, mainly hands, decent boxing, decent in and out movement. He will mix in some kicks, so not quite one-dimensional. Has pretty solid wrestling ability as well, good level changes, good shoots. He's aggressive on top. He can find some submission opportunities, if not just continuing to score points on top. Striking defense could use a little bit of improvement, kind of jumps in when he throws the jab. That's typically where he gets caught. Takedown defense really isn't exceptional either. I mean, we saw what Court McGee was able to do, 58% takedown defense on top of that on paper, albeit a small sample size. And I mean, he might have some cardio concerns. You know, I've seen his pace, mainly as striking defense, going back to that point, completely slow down as the fight goes on. So it's going to be interesting to see if Ramiz can't finish this one early, what's going to happen. He's taking on Michael Gillmore. We know Michael Gillmore lost to Andre Petroski in August. Won't spend too much time on him. I really don't think he's a UFC level fighter at all. Patient striker. He'll use a calf kick. He'll look for counter punching opportunities. Doesn't really go at a high pace. He prefers more of a methodical or technical type of matchup on the feet and doesn't really have the skill to go with it, in my opinion. And he's very susceptible to takedowns, very susceptible to being out-grappled as well. Really the only advantage for Michael Gillmore here is that he might be physically stronger. He is coming down in weight. Dana White Contender Series, or I should say Ultimate Fighter, he was fighting at 185 pounds. Of course, this one is down at welterweight at 170. Might be the stronger guy, or as we saw with Cody Garbrandt, might be more drained and might be even less effective at a lighter weight. So I'm with Ramiz Brahimaj all day here. Minus 360 obviously is steep because it is still a fight, but I don't quite see how Michael Gillmore wins this one. So Ramiz Brahimaj all the way for me.
Yeah, I'm on the Brahimaj side as well. I think our guy Gillmore. I think he was at welterweight. I'm not sure, but I think he was prior to the Contender Series. Yeah, he was at welterweight, so he's going back to his division. I guess he just did whatever weight class was on that show. A lot of fighters, when they did the Ultimate Fighter, they pretty much did the weight that was there. If you look at Kenny Florian, he was going up like 4 weight classes or 2 weight classes just to get on the show because they were showcasing the middleweights, and he was a 155-pound lightweight, right? So, but this fight, I'm gonna make it quick here. I like Brahimaj. I'm not sold on him though. I think this could be a tough fight because Brahimaj doesn't have the best gas tank. I can see Gillmore even putting it on late. I give Gillmore a good shot at winning this fight. But I think Brahimaj, his grappling, his wrestling, he looks for finishes when he's on top. He has good submissions. I think if we can get 2 rounds out of him, I think he will win this fight here. But it's a tough fight because Brahimaj, again, I'm not really impressed with him. But I think when it comes to these 2 guys, he's the better guy. He's the better fighter. And again, that ground game is going to come in handy here. So I'm going to go Ramiz Brahimaj to get this done.
Fight number 3, Alejandro Perez taking on Jonathan Martinez. Alejandro Perez, he beat Johnny Eduardo in October. He's introduced as a boxer, that kind of self-explanatory, a lot of head movement, a lot of upper body movement on the feet. I'll give him decent striking IQ. I think he can time and I think he can find counter striking opportunities. Really, the biggest gripe that I have against him is that he's not active enough of a striker for me. I do expect him to keep things on the feet. I mean, we see the takedown numbers there, 0.6 takedowns landed per fight. Although he did show me a decent takedown in his last fight before eventually finishing the fight on the ground. So he does have some ability there. He's not completely one-dimensional. Jonathan Martinez beat Zviad Lazishvili in October as well. Southpaw, good striker, good sound boxing, good movement, good kicks. Stand-up is kick-heavy at times. Good calf kick. He'll mix in all of those kicks. He's a complete striker in a lot of ways, a very dynamic striker in a lot of ways. And a few things I like about him. I like his pressure. It's patient, it's constant, it's active, pretty good. Perez showed me some key weaknesses in his last fight. That's really making me like Jonathan Martinez here. As I mentioned, no activity on the feet. I expect Jonathan Martinez to be way more active, and win almost all the striking exchanges. Perez showed me poor takedown defense as well. Don't really expect Martinez to resort to that style, although, I've seen Martinez land a takedown or two. And mainly the lack of striking diversity on the side of Perez. I expect Jonathan Martinez to be a lot more creative. I expect him to see Perez's shots coming for the most part. Like I said, it'll stay on the feet, in my opinion. And simply put, I think Jonathan Martinez offers more. So a very beatable opponent for him. Of course, Perez, has a shot at winning. Of course, it is still a fight. But I like Jonathan Martinez here, minus 230. I'm not too mad at that either.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to be quick. Jonathan Martinez is my pick. When I look at Perez, he's getting better. He's definitely a veteran in this game, 32 years old. And that Johnny Eduardo fight, though, in the first round against a 40-plus-year-old fighter, a shot fighter, the first round was really, really close. And obviously the second round, he was able to get the win. He was able to get it to the ground. But in Jonathan Martinez, I think we're looking at a guy that's kind of in his prime here. He's able to keep it on his feet. He fought a really good a wrestler first fighter in his last fight from Georgia, and I guess he tried one or two takedowns, and he just realized he couldn't get this one to the mat. And Jonathan showed really good cardio in that fight, able to go to 3 rounds. His striking was sharp, and I think in this fight he's gonna be able to keep it on the feet. He's gonna be the better striker here. Should be able to get it done. So I like Jonathan Martinez in a fight that should be exciting. So Jonathan's my pick.
Fight number 4, we have Jinh Frey taking on Hannah Goldy. For Jinh Frey, she's on a 2-fight win streak at this point. She beat Ashley Yoder in July. She's a southpaw, decent skill set on paper, decent striker, decent jab, decent calf kicks. She can play the clinch game against the cage as well. She has shown some takedown ability. With some top control as well, almost at a takedown per fight. I've seen her with decent takedown defense as well. Decent control. She can fight from the center of the octagon pretty effectively as well. Taking on Hannah Goldy, who beat Emily Whitmire in September. Pretty balanced and patient striker. She has a lot of leg kicks in her own right. With the lead leg specifically. Has some good pop with her right hook as well. Shorter frame, stockier frame. Although she will be the taller fighter in this one. She fights from the outside, so I'm expecting Jinh Frey to control center. I'm expecting Hannah Goldy to be sort of circling around the cage. She fights at a distance. And she'll set up some decent combinations, but I have seen her outstruck many times. I like Jinh Frey in this spot. I think she can capitalize on the ground specifically. And with the way that she throws punches, I think she can use, although she's an inch shorter in height, she's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage. And I think with the way she throws punches, which are really straight punches as opposed to looping punches, I think she's really going to be able to use that 4-inch reach advantage to her advantage. Even in Goldy's win versus Emily Whitmire, she was very much losing that fight. She was losing on the feet. She was losing on the ground. And then, of course, she landed, I think it was a triangle from bottom position from guard. So I can't be too confident in Hannah Goldy in general to even be winning the fight. Even if she ends up winning, it could be from a losing position. So for those reasons, I'm going Jinh Frey, a little bit more reliable, has been a little bit better recently. And I think she's in a favorable matchup here versus Hannah Goldy.
Yeah, man, I'm with you on that. I hear where you're coming from here, but I think this is there's a good chance. I think the dog is really. I think the dog has a lot of value in this spot. If you really, because with Jinh Frey, there's some flags that instantly come up. Her age, and you have the stats up. Like she strikes like 2 or 3 punches or strikes per minute, while Hannah Goldy is going 5, 6, or 7 strikes per minute. So we know women's fights, a lot of them end in decision, and if one fighter is doubling up on the strikes, a lot of the times that's going to be the win for the to get the decision here in a fight that's likely going to go decision. Obviously, I don't know, but the reason why I'm going to go Jinh Frey though, she's been looking good her last 2 fights. She's confident. She doesn't want to go back in the loss column. Glory to Paula, that win aged well because I believe Belbita beat Hannah Goldy, and Gloria DePaula got the win against Belbita. I know MMA math doesn't work, but she looked good in that fight. Unanimous. Ashley Yoder, unanimous. So she's winning these fights unanimous. The Loma Lookboonmee, she was able to get the fight to the ground. She lost that fight because look, Loma is a really good striker. Kay Hansen, I believe she won the first round, and then maybe the second round. I think Kay Hansen came back in that fight. I gotta watch that again, but I remember Jinh Frey winning that first round, and Kay Hansen needing that armbar to win the fight. So Jinh Frey, I think she's the better fighter. I think skill for skill, she's the better fighter. Things, flags that come up for Hannah Goldy for me. Yeah, she's jacked. Yeah, she's on some type of pill. She's definitely taking something to look like that. But when she fights, looks like sparring. A lot of the times, it looks like she's not throwing with intentions, and it just looks like a sparring match. And she seems content to just hear out the next bell and finish out the round. She doesn't show me that killer instinct here in the ring. Jinh Frey doesn't show me much either, but I just think she's the better fighter here, and she should be able to land better shots. If she can get it to the ground, she can get a lot of points there. She's going to be the better ground fighter. Stand-up's going to be close. So I'm going to go Jinh Frey having the better game. But again, the age, this fight can go any way. So I think the underdog's really valuable in this spot. I think this is a spot a dog could win. But for the channel, I got to make a pick. I'm going to go Jinh Frey here to win a decision. She won her last 2 fights. Let's go on a 3-fight winning streak here.
Fight number 5, Terrance McKinney versus Fares Ziam. This is a fight that was supposed to happen a couple of months ago. I think we actually covered it at the time as well before it was called off. So truthfully, I'm going to go back to the same notes as well as the same prediction that I had back then. I sort of thought to myself, would I change my mind? Turns out that I'm not. Terrance McKinney, he beat Matt Frivola in June, round 1 KO. He's on a 4-fight winning streak. We know he has that 100% finish rate. Of his 11 wins, 5 of them are via KO, TKO, 6 of them are via submission. He's a southpaw, has really dangerous hands, dangerous striker in general. Good with the hands, good kicks as well. And he's shown me good wrestling. Showed it in his Dana White Contender Series fight versus Sean Woodson. And you got to remember, he was winning that fight versus Sean Woodson, who's a decent prospect, before, of course, Sean Woodson landed that flying knee. For Fares Ziam, he beat Luigi Vendramini via majority decision in June, 2-fight win streak in his own right. He's considered a kickboxer, sort of pure kickboxer in that sense. Good long jab. We know he's going to have, surprisingly, only 1.5 inches on reach, a few inches on height. But again, like I said, considered a kickboxer, long jab, long kicks, sharp leg kicks, used to be a K1 champion. Good timing on his counter punches as well, good movement around the ring. Look for him to be more likely to fight from the outside, especially with the sort of pressure that I can anticipate from Terrance McKinney. More of a methodical, technical kickboxer rather than sort of an overwhelming or a pressuring kickboxer in his own right. Going back to that ring control dynamic that I anticipate in this fight. You know, in general, good young prospect, but he's somebody that struggles a bit with pressure. Someone that can be clipped. We saw it in his last fight versus Luigi Vendramini before he was able to, again, pull out that majority decision. And like I said, I'm going to keep my pick the same here. A little surprised to see Terrance McKinney as the clear underdog, albeit just plus 110. I thought it would be at least a pick 'em because this is a very close spot, a close fight, I should say. I think either fighter can win it. But I'd like Terrance McKinney here. I think he provides great value, especially as an underdog. I think they match each other on the feet. Yes, Ziam is technically a little bit better. Yes, Ziam is more pure of a striker. But I think when it comes to MMA striking, I think that's where Terrance McKinney, with his pressure, with his power, matches some of the technical ability that Fares Ziam has. And I think, again, McKinney with that pressuring style, he's a bit more dangerous. He can give Ziam problems. We've seen Ziam not respond the best to pressure in the past. And I think McKinney can also resort to that wrestling. I don't think Ziam has it in terms of the wrestling, in terms of the ground game. I think McKinney does. And I think that can serve him very well to sort of solidify the win, to resort to a takedown if he is being outclassed on the feet, or to land a takedown if the striking is close, just kind of seal the round. So, I mean, I like Terrance McKinney in the spot. I understand the dangers that Ziam has. and the risks that, that are present in going against Ziam. But for the value, especially, I really like Terrance McKinney here.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm on Terrance McKinney's side. One thing though, when I look at this fight, I actually this fight reminds me of in terms of how they fight. This fight reminds me of Darren Till and Darren Till versus our boy that fought Jake Paul. What's his name again? Tyron Woodley. To me, this fight has that same feel where Ziam to me is like Till, the better striker, the taller fighter. And they actually fight similar to me. He fights similar to Till to me. And while McKinney's going to have the power, the wrestling, the ground advantage, everything grappling related in this fight, just like that fight, is going to go the McKinney way, just like it went Woodley's way. And the striking, albeit it's not that far apart, Ziam is the better striker on paper, like Till was. But I think what's going to happen, I think the power is going to be a big difference here. If you look at, I've been following Terrance McKinney a lot, and his first loss was back in 2018. I didn't get to see that fight. It was a leg injury in the first 39 seconds of the first round. So he sprained his ankle. I don't know. That doesn't look like, I don't know. I got to see that fight. If someone knows, write it in the comments what happened. But 39-second leg injury, that looks like an accident or something. And then he got a flying knee. He lost to Sean Woodson, a fighter that's doing really well in the UFC. And he was winning that fight up until the flying knee knockout. Woodson was losing. And Woodson's getting like 4-1 odds against some UFC fighters today. Derek Minner, another UFC fighter, he lost by triangle choke in the first round. So obviously he has Derek Minner on the ground. He's on top of Derek Minner. Derek Minner gets a triangle. Derek Minner is really good in that area. You don't want to play with Derek Minner in terms of jiu-jitsu. But after that, 2021 and up, he's knocking everybody out. We're seeing a different guy. If you look at his career beforehand, he's getting a lot of chokes. He has a 1-2 knockout, but he's getting a lot of rear naked chokes to win these fights, submissions. And then 2021 and up, he's knocking these guys out. He's in the gym. He's learning his boxing. So I think his boxing is underrated. I think people think he's going in as a wrestler here. I think he has the power to knock him out. So I like him here in this spot. The wrestling, big advantage there. And I'm not sure the striking is going to be that big of an advantage for Ziam. And I think it's going to look kind of like the Tyron Woodley versus Darren Till. And I see Terrance McKinney getting the win here. So I'm going to go with Terrance McKinney to get it done.
I think that's a great comparison to provide a visual on how this fight can go. I definitely agree with that. Let's move on to fight number 6, Josiane Nunes taking on Ramona Pascual. Josiane Nunes, she won her UFC debut versus Bia Malecki in August. She's on a 7-fight win streak. At this point, we see her record there, 8-1. Kind of wild on the feet. She's a southpaw, somewhat of a brawler type, although her pacing is a little bit better, to be a little bit more effectively pressuring rather than just being reckless. So that is something that I see her working on. A good overhand left, especially as a southpaw. She'll throw in that calf kick with some regularity. Has power. I mean, has a lot of power. 7 of her 8 wins are via TKO. And she pushes a high pace. I mean, not sure if her cardio can last all 15 minutes, but she definitely pushes that high pace. For Ramona Pascual, she's making her UFC debut coming from Invicta. She competed just over a month ago. She's on the 4-fight win streak as well. Southpaw as well. Looks to be heavy on the feet. Looks to have pretty good pressure. Looks like her diversity in her striking is pretty decent. Unfortunately, to be truthful here, I wasn't really able to find much footage on Ramona Pascual in terms of anything recent from her MMA performances. Due to that alone, very unsure which direction this one will go in. I think that what's very interesting here is that this fight is at 145 pounds. I mean, Josiane Nunes, she's only 5'2". Might be a little too slow with that much weight on her. If I'm not mistaken, I think this one's at 145. I look for either fighter to hurt the other. I think it is possible. I'm expecting a sloppy fight, but I think I will lean on the side of Nunes almost by default here. I'll completely avoid this one. I almost don't even want to make a pick. I think Nunes can be more effective as the aggressor. I think she can hurt Pascual as well. who doesn't really have the best striking defense, in my opinion. At these odds, it might be dog or pass because I don't really believe in Josiane Nunes. I think I bet against her in her debut as well. But in making a pick, I have to reluctantly go with Josiane Nunes.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I like. Yeah, this is a tough one. I know what you're saying. Because when you look at Josiane Nunes, she's again 5'2", and this is at 145. She was scheduled to fight Jennifer Araneda at 135 pounds in the bantamweight division. That fight was scrapped, and then they called in a newcomer, but they're calling in someone that stylistically could give Nunes problems. On what I've seen from the opposition here, what I seen from her name, let me get her name, man. Ramona Pascual. She's a Muay Thai fighter, so she has stand-up. She could win this fight, being the bigger girl. If she could take the power, I can see her winning a decision here. If she can handle that power, I can see her being the more active striker, landing the more strikes per minute, and just winning a decision, being the more active fighter. If she can handle the power from Josiane Nunes. But I got to roll with Josiane Nunes here. I think that power is ridiculous for a female fighter. She knocks you out cold, and I'm not sure that Pascual can handle that power. And every female, or not even female, every Brazilian fighter, every single one of them have jiu-jitsu. So you got to think she's fighting this Muay Thai fighter who has a bit of the know-how on the ground. You got to believe that this Brazilian is a black belt or some type of belt, and is going to be able to school her on the ground if she needs to get it there. And with her stocky build, she's going to be able to get takedowns. So we haven't seen that yet in terms of the UFC, but I think she has that in her back pocket if the striking doesn't work out here. So I'm going to go Josiane Nunes, but I think this is a tricky fight, could be a trap. This girl's going up 10, 15 pounds, going to be fighting a fighter that is probably going to be 20, 30, 20, 25 pounds bigger or 20 pounds heavier come fight night, going to be the bigger fighter. And if this fighter can take the punches, Nunes could be in trouble. She could lose a decision. But I'm going to go Nunes to get it done here. I think she has something in her back pocket, the jiu-jitsu, and I believe in that power. So I'm going to go her to get this done.
All right, let's move on to the final fight of the prelims. We have Rong taking on Ignacio Bahamondes. For Rong or Zhu Rong, depending on how you order the name. He beat Brandon Jenkins in September. He's introduced as a striker. Decent stand-up, pretty straightforward and basic, though, to be honest. A good jab, I would say. Decent in and out movement, uses a lot of fakes to set up his striking. Good kicks as well. Striking technique is pretty clean. We see he has power, knockout power as well. 18 wins. 12 of them are via KO TKO, so you got to respect that. He fights tall. Obviously, he'll be at a significantly height disadvantage here, but he does fight tall, and with that sort of tall stance that he is prone to being taken down. I don't think he has the best takedown defense. He's shown me some knowledge on the ground, though, when he is on top, but definitely prone to being taken down. I don't think that'll matter in this fight because I do think it will stay on the feet. He is taking on Ignacio Bahamondes, who had a pretty solid win versus Roosevelt Roberts back in August. Good kickboxing, almost more of a Thai kickboxing style. Good snap on his punches, good snap on his kicks. I like his timing. I think he picks his shots pretty well. Gives good pressure too, as he fights from the center of the octagon. His combinations are starting to look really clean to me, and he truly will have the length advantages here. 6 inches in height, 4.5, almost 5 inches in reach. It definitely looks physically strong for the division as well. The prediction itself, I'll keep it short. Bahamondes is going to be my pick. I think it's because his striking is simply at a higher level. Specifically the combinations being better, specifically his reach advantages as well. We saw him go up against the high-level striker in Roosevelt Roberts. Roosevelt Roberts, who I feel is a better striker than Rong, and he was able to outperform him. Ultimately, I expect the same thing here. So Ignacio Bahamondes is going to be my pick. I'm feeling pretty comfortable about this one.
I think a lot of this comes down to is can Zhu Rong or Rong Zhu get him to the ground? Because I think when it comes to the stand-up, that reach advantage that he has, and that's his game. is striking. I think he's going to cause a hurt on Rong Zhu unless Rong Zhu can get it down. And we looked at that fight versus Roosevelt Roberts. I don't think Roberts was able to get him to the mat. And if you watch his previous fights, Roberts is a guy that has that ground game that could get fights to the ground with trips or body lock takedowns. He had no success versus Bahamondes, and Bahamondes has a real good team he's training with. I know he's close with Bilal, so I know he's getting in some rounds with Bilal Muhammad. And Bilal Muhammad is basically a much better version, far better version than a Zhu Rong. So I think he has the training partners to be ready for this fight. I think his last fight was a notice fight to let everybody know who he is. And I think he's just going to move on here and get this done here and look good in this fight. So I'm going to go Ignacio Bahamondes. But as far as how comfortable, I'm not, because I think that Bahamondes, I believe he's a young fighter. So he still doesn't have that much fights. He only has 16 fights. So I'm not sure. Like I can't feel confident. His fighting style is a risky style. He doesn't have the best defense as well. But I just think that he's the better guy here. So I'm going to go with Bahamondes to knock out Zhu Rong. I think you can get him out of there, actually, if this stays on the feet, which I think he can keep it there. So Ignacio's my pick.
All right, let's take it to Vegas at that point. Let's consider the prelim card. And let's start with some underdog action. I'll go first on this one. In terms of underdog, for me, pretty clear at this point. I'm going Terrance McKinney. Very likely going to make a bet on this one. It's paying plus 100 even money. I've seen it as high as plus 120, depending on the platform that you're using. But Terrance McKinney all the way for me in terms of underdog.
Yeah, I like Terrance McKinney in that spot. I think he gets it done.
All right, and in terms of parlay action or favorites, for lack of a better word, again, I will go first. There's actually a couple of fights here that I do like. There are some cautions in terms of the fighter, but I really do like the matchup in terms of their opponent. So a few names that I'm looking at: Ramiz, Brahimaj. Again, Michael Gillmore just doesn't have it at all, in my opinion. Jonathan Martinez, I think, is set up really well to put on a good performance here. And Ignacio Bahamondes, again, I think, specifically to your point, you talked about the takedown defense that he showed in that Roosevelt Roberts fight, and that's what makes me really confident in him here. So that'll pay a plus 162. $100 will return 262. For our bigger bettors, $250 will return 655. In terms of parlay action, what are you looking at for this prelim card?
Terrance McKinney and Jonathan Martinez. What does that pay there? Yeah, I'll just roll with that. I feel I like that.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid one. That would pay a plus 183, so healthy payout as well. $100 will return 283. For our bigger bettors, $250 will return 707. So some decent money to be made on these prelims. Let's officially sign off on that note. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video. And most importantly, we want to hear from you in the comments. Let us know how you feel about our picks. Let us know who your underdog of the night is. Let us know if there's any specific parlay or result-driven bets that you're specifically looking at. We'll be more than happy to provide some additional analysis on that. But again, in officially signing out, let's sort of reintroduce ourselves. He goes by Zan, I go by Harris. We are Boxing MMA Picks, and this has been the UFC Fight Night, Islam Makhachev versus Bobby Green, the prelim card prediction video. So in our usual fashion, let's get this money.
Let's get it.